All right, Cash Crew, we're back again for another week. Before we start, as I always ask, Vlad, how you feeling?
I'm feeling well. We had a good week. Had a lot of things going on in the sports world this week. A lot of great things happened. Um, but most importantly, we've had some icons get inducted into the hall this week, which I think is a very
Yes,
special
sir.
moment, especially for the NBA. So just going to dive into that this week for this week's episode. Um, we're going to touch base on some of the biggest names in the 1996 NBA draft who are now Hall of Famers. So
hmm
something definitely monumental, something definitely, we're going to look back 20, 30 years from now and I guess you could say glamorize or memorize when we talk to our kids about, because these guys that we're going to touch base on definitely have shaped the NBA and our legends. But before we get into that, we have some headline news that went down this week. Um, I'll let you kick that off.
Mr. Russell Westbrook is now the new triple double king with 182. I don't know. Has he had even more than that since then? Has he had another one?
I'm not too sure. I don't think so.
Okay,
Once he
so
beat the record, yeah.
182. Okay, 182 triple doubles. I mean, this is what he does. I'm not even surprised anymore at this point. And you know what's crazy? We sat and watched the last recording, sat and watched the rest of the game. He does it in the flow of the game, and to me, that's what's so impressive. It's not like he's padding stats at all. He's just within the flow of the game. He naturally gets all these assists. He naturally gets all these rebounds, and of course, he can score. So it's so impressive what he has done, and maybe I shouldn't say it now, but I don't know how he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer with no
Oh,
ring.
yeah, definitely. He's a Hall of Famer for sure, ring or no ring. Russell Westbrook, I've always said, is probably one of the most athletic guards, definitely point guards I ever seen in my lifetime.
hmm
And to me, as far as his energy level and his aggression, like I've said plenty of times since day one, since he got in the league, to me, he's never fell off. He's been literally, I call him the Ferrari. He's 0 to 100 every game, preseason, USA basketball, pickup, regular season, playoffs, finals. Russell Westbrook, you're gonna get the same person every day.
Facts.
And it's crazy that he's in his 30s now and he's still going 100 miles per hour. And what's more impressive about this is 4 seasons of averaging a triple double is remarkable. I mean, there's guys who don't even get a triple double one time, not even for a season, for a game in their whole career. He's done it for 4 seasons average. That's like 2K numbers.
Facts.
And what's crazy is I remember maybe about a decade ago when they did the NBA video of asking J Kidd and LeBron, you know, is there anybody ever going to beat Oscar Robinson's triple double record? And all those, oh man, that's a record that'll never be touched, never be broken. Oh man, that's a hard, and not only he broke it, he did it 4 times. And he broke the record of saying I have the most total triple doubles, which I might have to reset the bar again and say we might not ever see this again
You would
because
think so. You would think so, but I don't know. There's always a kid that comes out of nowhere.
absolutely,
People didn't
but
know about Russell Westbrook. People weren't really following him like that in UCLA.
yeah, I mean, he didn't even start. He didn't even start at UCLA at first, and he wasn't highly recruited either. A lot of people don't know that.
Wait a
Russ,
minute, he didn't start.
no,
Who
Russell Westbrook.
started? Who started over him?
When Russell Westbrook first played for UCLA, it was Darren Collinson and yes, people forgot when Russell Westbrook first played for UCLA, he came off the bench as a six man. A lot of people don't know that. Yes, Russell Westbrook was not an automatic start, because what people don't really, also know is Russell Westbrook was not highly recruited. The reason he got recruited by UCLA is because the last scholarship that UCLA had was for another athlete, and that athlete did not commit. So because he's from California and he's a California kid, they gave him a shot with that very last scholarship. But he was like their second or third option on the list to get recruited. He was not first.
How can you not love the guy?
So Westbrook, yes, and I think that's why he has a chip on his shoulder, because he was not the sought out guy coming in to coming into college like that. And obviously he was not he was a high pick in the draft, but he wasn't a top 3 pick either. So
Long Beach.
he's definitely showing people, not to count him out, and that, I think that's always been his motto since the day he got into the league. But yeah, he was not early in his college years, he was not a early high sought out recruit.
Awesome, man. I was hoping that he maybe gets to a team where he could win a championship, but I don't know. I really don't know what the future holds for Westbrook. Bill loves him, and so Bill's gonna be kind of stuck in that situation for, like, really just to be 100% real with yourself. Like, how do you really see the Wizards doing much damage in the playoffs? No.
Absolutely
So
not.
so I mean, and they'll never say that. They'll say that it's whatever. They'll but y'all are expending so much energy to the point where Bill is getting hurt now. So y'all literally have to do superhuman things in order for you to win a game. So how long does that last? I don't know. He's definitely gonna get paid though, because I mean he's already under contract. But Washington, there's no reason for them to say goodbye unless he asks to go. So
The only thing Washington can do now is trade. I don't think he's gonna stay until he becomes an unrestricted free agent. But it's gonna be a hard trade. I mean, he's older now, and yes, I like him, but he's not the easiest of fits for a lot of teams. His playing style hasn't really changed much, or even at all, since he's gotten into the league. So, it's going to be very hard to move a piece like that, and he's very expensive. If I'm not mistaken, Westbrook is getting about like 41 a year, 42 a year. It's a hefty bill. So, he might be in Washington for another year or two, unless Bill leaves, and then Washington has no choice but to trade him because they want to rebuild. But yeah, he's definitely not an easy piece to move, but had a hell of a career. Definitely a hell of a career.
for sure, that's our headlines.
So let's go ahead and dive into this year's Hall of Fame class. Obviously, there's been numerous of names out there, and shout out to all the candidates that got inducted to the Hall of Fame this year. But I'm pretty sure there's 3 names that everybody has focused on, which is Kobe Bean Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. All 3 of them are part of the 96 draft. All of them have been icons in this league, played for a long time, and has done remarkable things. Just to go over some stats, like we like to do on Sports Cash, just going to go over some career stats for each player real quick, and then we'll dive into each one's career. Let's start off with RIP Kobe Bean Bryant, 5-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 1 regular season MVP, 18 All-Star appearances, 4-time All-Star MVP, 11-time NBA first team, 2-time NBA second team, and 2-time NBA third team. He has a career average of 25 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.7 assists, and a career total of 33,643 points, 7,047 rebounds, and 6,306 assists. Now to the big fundamental out there in San Antonio, Mr. Tim Duncan, aka Timmy. He's a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time regular season MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, 15 All-Star appearances, and he has been all NBA and all defensive team 13 straight years in his career. And last but not least, the big ticket, the biggest trash talker in his era, Mr. Kevin Garnett. He's an NBA champion with the Boston Celtics in 2008. He has won a regular season MVP. He also has a Defensive Player of the Year, a 15-time All-Star, and a one-time All-Star Game MVP. And he's been All NBA 9 times. Kevin Garnett has a career average of 17.8 points, 10 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and a career total of 26,071 points, 14,662 rebounds, 5,445 assists. And also, I forgot about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan career averages is 19 points, 10.8 rebounds, 3 assists, and career totals of 26,496 points, 15,090 rebounds, 4,225 assists. What a career.
Forgot about that. I forgot about that nickname. Definitely forgot about that.
So, I mean, I'm just thinking about, these accolades and these careers, and I'm just like, man, first of all, I just want to start with Kobe. In my opinion, Kobe could have 2 Hall of Fame careers for 8 and 24. If you look at it, it's almost the same. The only difference is he's won 1 more championship wearing 8, and he has an MVP wearing 24. And I think the points is less than 100 difference. But he really could have 2 Hall of Fame careers. I mean, there's a lot of guys. His number 8 career is better than a lot of guys' total careers in the NBA. So to me, I think that's just the craziest thing. I think the only other player that might have that is obviously LeBron. LeBron wearing number 6 and LeBron wearing 23. But it's just crazy. This guy played for 20 years. And I could say probably from year 3 on, been top 10 at the worst in the league. Definitely top 5 for at least 15 years. And, between him and Tim Duncan, I think we have to really start saying they were the dominant forces from 2000 to 2010. You got 5 championships from Kobe and the Lakers. And you have, I want to say 3 from the Spurs and Tim Duncan, 03, 05, and 07. So yeah, 3. So they really ran that decade. I mean, the only other teams that won a championship in that time span is the Pistons in 04, the Celtics 08, and which is actually Kevin Garnett's only championship. And then you got 04, 08.
You trying to figure out who else won in that decade?
Yeah, there's one other team. Miami, 06.
Miami.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Miami 06 when doing with bonkers. So, you look at it and you can say, wow, like these 2 guys, when you look back on history, it's almost like saying how Magic and Bird dominated the 80s. Kareem dominated, I want to say, the 70s, and Jerry West with the 60s. Right? And now, obviously, with the 2010s to 2020, that'll be LeBron and Stephen Curry dominating that decade. But I'll be honest, growing up, I hated Tim Duncan. I mean, he was so, sorry for my language, but so freaking boring. It's like slow as hell. no athleticism, no
No
flair,
mistakes.
no flair but that's the thing, no flair to his game. But this dude was so fundamentally sound, you kind of low-key cannot stop him.
The
And
crazy thing is hearing his speech with him saying that he didn't even, he wasn't even thinking about basketball. He was a swimmer.
yeah, and there's a lot of athletes out there, um life situations happen and they end up turning to basketball and they end up having great careers. Now imagine if that pool situation never happened, will we ever have the best power forward of all time?
Nope. You weren't even thinking about it.
Which is insane. This dude, basketball was not even on his mind, and he still said, okay, I could do this. And 20 years later, he ends up being the best power forward of all time. And be honest, on some people's book, not only the best power forward, he's top 5 best players of all time in some people's book.
Mm-hmm.
Had a hell of a career. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Tim Duncan ever missed the playoffs. Um, he could have 6 championships. Um, Obviously, thanks to your Miami Heat, it cost him one. But hey, he was literally one layup away. If he did not blow that layup in the fourth quarter in 2013, we could arguably say maybe, or if Ray Allen don't hit that shot, Spurs probably win that series. So,
What a series that was.
oh yeah, hell of a series,
Oh my
definitely.
God.
But thank you, Jesus, for Ray Allen, because man, oh man, that was stressful. But
Still
anyway,
the greatest shot in Miami Heat basketball history.
but now that I'm older, I have to say and admit that I've grown a appreciation for Tim Duncan because of that, consistency. Um, Never fell off. That's one thing you can say about Tim Duncan. He's been consistent. And it's actually crazy. I thought he would have a higher points per average for his career, but 19, I was shocked, but he's 19 and 10. So he's a double-double as a career, 19 and 10. Almost 19 and 11, actually, because he's at 10.8 rebounds, but that's consistent across the board. And be honest with you, what makes it more impressive is he never played with another top 5 player in the league ever in his career. David Robinson, that one year he played with David Robinson when they won a championship, to me was he was older. I don't know if I would put him at top 5. He was a top player in the league, but I don't know about top 5. To me, Tony Parker was never a top 5 player in the league, and definitely Manu Ginobili was never a top 5 player in the league. So, and he never
They
played
were he played with top 20s. And that's the thing that San Antonio figured out how to get people who were close to the top to sacrifice and their top guy to sacrifice to keep them there. And it was really him, Manu, and Tony Parker. I mean, for a long period of time, it was those three, and they
correct.
sacrificed to stay there. And now they're Spurs Mafia for life. I don't know if you have seen it the other day, but after the people were trying to ask like, when is he? Tim Duncan's never gonna wear that jacket ever again. Like he doesn't dress up for nobody. And then Manu was like, I'll try to get him to wear it on our next bike ride.
But yeah, it's just, but if you look back on history though, right? Most championship teams, the duos are at least top 5 or at worst top 10 players, at least during that span of Kobe and Tim Duncan's, run from 2000 to 2010. Kobe had Shaq, um, even Miami, Dwayne Wade and Shaq. I think obviously Pistons will always be the anomaly. Boston had the big 3, even they're a little bit older. Maybe some people might say Kevin Garnett was still a top 5 player in the league at the time, but they had a big 3, so it compensated. But never have we ever said, the Spurs, have 2 top 5 players. Even sometimes some people would even say top 10. I mean, maybe '07 year, maybe because Tony Parker was really heating up the league. Maybe you might say Tony Parker is a top 10 player, but definitely a top 10 point guard for sure at that time. But
The question will always have to be, how are you qualifying that? Because to me, Manu and Tony Parker were top 10 players in the league, but it just they were good when it counted.
I
And to be honest, it was because Pop rested his players. He understood when it's winning time, I'll put them in the game. Otherwise, I don't care about these meaningless games in the middle of October in Minnesota. Like, we're gonna lose that game. So, and if we won 50 games, that's fine. Versus, a Hawks team. Sorry, had to bring this up. Getting 66
fair.
wins and then getting bounced before they even get to the final. So he understood, and he really understood the assignment. Like, he listened to his players when they said, "I can't go tonight." He's like, "All right, shit, we have enough." Or if we don't have enough, it's fine. When the playoffs come, that's when we're never gonna rest you.
I agree. I definitely agree. Greg Popovich definitely got the best out of his players. The only reason I can say definitely not Manu is only because Manu came off the bench. Like, you can't be a top 10 or 20 player in the league if you come off the bench.
I
That's why I said
disagree. I disagree.
that's
It happens.
debatable.
Your star players can come where they want to come. It's undeniable that Manu was a star. So I mean, he's the Euro step. Like, so I'm not gonna deny him that just because he came off the bench. They asked him to come off the bench and he did that. But remember, Manu wasn't a spring chicken when he got to the Spurs either.
Not at
He
all.
had come from Argentina. He had been playing ball in Argentina for a while.
And to piggyback on that, I don't know if people know, but the reason why the Spurs was so on Manu's case when they got him is because, if people remember, that '04 team that blew it in the Olympics lost to Argentina, and Manu was a star player on that team at the time. That's how Manu got his name in the league. And that's how the European League had to develop to a league that you had to start respecting. That's why Team Spain with Pau and Marc Gasol came a threat, Argentina. And now you see the fruit, the effect of that in the league with a lot of these other foreign players. That's why you have a Luka Doncic now today. It's because people like Manu, who paved the way and put the international. Obviously, you can go further back with Kukoc, who played
Kukoc
for the
is really
Bulls.
who started
Yeah,
it.
who
Yeah.
really started with the Bulls. But Manu, when he beat that Team USA team in '04 that won bronze, that really opened the NBA eyes. Like, yo, this dude is serious. And not only this dude, this is going to open the floodgates with European guys. And I think that's what opened the floodgates. As you can see, that was San Antonio. All these guys are foreign guys. Tim Duncan, Virgin Islands, Tony Parker, France, Manu, Argentina. And that
Patty
was,
Mills, Australia.
yeah, Patty Mills, Australia. So that was the San Antonio's formula. They went and they recruited these foreign guys, and they knew once they came to this system, they bought in and they won big and they won a lot, a lot. And shout out to San Antonio, because that's a hell of a recruiter. I really want to see who the recruiters are, because their scouts is impeccable. For them, outside of the Lakers and probably Celtics, you have to give respect to this team, because this team has, for 20 years, has been one, consistent, and two, a powerhouse nonstop without big name stars on their roster. And when I mean big name stars, I mean, obviously Tim Duncan is a star, but I'm just talking like, they didn't have the flair guys like the James Harden, the Kevin Durant, the LeBron James of the world, right? They really just like, okay, we're just going to get you, develop you, and all right, let's go hoop. And boom, 5 championships later.
Yeah, I respect the San Antonio Spurs a lot, the whole organization, because it's really a reflection. Like, I see a lot of what Miami Heat does with. I mean, there's a reason why Spo and Coach Pop are 1 and 2 in terms of how long they've been coaching. It's literally 1 and 2 um, right now, active coaches in the league. And then you think about management as well. RC Buford out in San Antonio, and then Pat Riley in Miami. it's a very strong connection from front office all the way down to the court. So I just I respect everything that they've done, and I respect what they're about to do because Becky Hammond is about to be the coach once Pop is done, and that'll be the first female head coach of the NBA. It's gonna happen, and that will be the place that it should happen, in such a place like San Antonio.
I agree, and I think she's in the perfect place. I think she's going to open the doors for more female head coaches, but I think she's going to do well. She's behind, to me, the best in the game as far as right now. Greg Popovich. I don't think there's anybody else, that you want to be behind as far as, the coaching aspect of the game. She seems like she's learned the ropes, and she's going to take this ship and build it back up to where it used to be in the early 2000s. So shout out to her for sure in that Spurs organization. But to move on, there's definitely a scenario I thought about that I wanted to key on. And I know this is so far-fetched, but imagine if Tim Duncan and Kobe had played together, how many championships they would have won?
All of them.
Now, when we say
I don't think they would be able to play together. That's what I'm wondering.
Why you say that? Now, okay, obviously the money and scenario-wise, but just say we throw that out the window. Just say it happened. Just say, Kobe was able to go to San Antonio, or Tim Duncan was able to come to LA. How many championships do they really win? Because I'm going to say something on air, and I know when we hop on our clubhouse room, people might be, they might blast me on this, but in total honesty, and hear me clear on this, Shaq is the more dominant player, but to me, Tim Duncan had the better career.
One more time so we can nail you to the cross later.
Shaq is the more dominant player, but Tim Duncan had the better career. Let me give you one little spill that might kind of give you an insight on Shaq. As dominant as Shaq has been, did you know Shaq has never led the league in rebounds ever in his career?
He's never what?
He's never led the league in rebounds, not once in his whole career.
I mean, is that the reasoning that you're giving?
No, that's not the reasoning. Okay. That's not the reasoning. But to show you, there are some speculations, and we will dive deep on why I think Tim Duncan had a better career than Shaq. We'll talk about that in the clubhouse room, which you can always chime in every Monday at 7 p.m. But I do believe, yes, Shaq is the more dominant. Obviously, he's the most dominant force. But if you look at totality and from top to bottom, think about it. Tim Duncan is a winner in college. He's a winner in the big leagues. And you look at that resume he got in the league. Really look at that resume and compare it to Shaq. You might really have to start thinking about it. But most people are not going to look at it because people are just going to look at the eye test and look at all the highlights that Shaq has about him, literally can dunk on three people, and Tim Duncan has the boring game, so you're going to overlook it. But if you're a real hoop head and you really know the game basketball, and you also look at the stats, or let me not say stats, the resume. Me personally, and mind you, I don't even like Tim Duncan. Trust me, I do not like this dude, and I don't even like the Spurs. But as a basketball connoisseur, and now that I'm older and I have appreciation for the game and players, I have to say on air, Tim Duncan had a better career than Shaq. And that's why I say, now would him and Kobe have won all the championships? I can't say all. But if you was to look from 2000, 2010, which I think was the time span they dominated the most, foregone injury, I think they won 8 out of 10 championships. Them two.
I mean, even when they're on two different, if we do 99, It was San Antonio that year, then the
Correct.
Lakers for the next three.
3.
Um,
Then
and then
Detroit.
no, 2003 was San Antonio, and then
Yes. I'm sorry.
Detroit.
You're right. 2003
So
was San Antonio.
so right there, if we just talking about 99 to 2003, it was two teams. It was different teams because we got the East teams that made it, but
That participated.
that participated. Yeah, because it was four. The most it was 03, 4-2 Nets versus Spurs, but they were beating these teams 4-1, 4-2, 4-1, 4-0, 4-2. It wasn't a contest. It was a participation.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing in itself. But then Detroit, then San Antonio again, then Miami, then San Antonio again, then Boston, then Los Angeles, then Los Angeles again. So you are absolutely correct in terms of that. They did dominate 2000, 2010. It's just that folks would look at it and say, wow, LeBron came in 2003, yeah, but for 7 years he did absolutely nothing. And not absolutely nothing, but you get what I mean. He
Yeah.
wasn't winning in the finals. He went once and got spanked by
San Antonio.
San Antonio. So, it's they are going to be linked that way, but I do believe that they would win 8 out of 10. Because save for maybe the Celtics. Hmm. That
So
Miami team
let
was
me let,
tough.
let me tell you about that Celtics one.
Hmm.
They weren't supposed to win.
But they did.
They did. I give it to them. They won. They did.
4-2. So that's not even you can't sneeze at that either.
I agree.
Good win.
But there was a big X factor in that series that a lot of people forgot. If Andrew Bynum was not injured, that's a whole different series.
That's true.
And we might be looking at Kobe having a three-peat. Another one. Just saying.
Crazy.
So I give it to the Celtics and their fans. They did win 4-2. Cool, no problem. You won fair and square. But don't be holding your head too high, Mr. KG, because you only got one championship, my guy. Paul Pierce. Don't be out here bragging like these dudes be talking like they got 5, 6 of them things. They got one. And that's the only thing I don't like with KG and Paul Pierce, because these dudes be talking big cash like they got 4 of them things. And I'm just like, bro, y'all got one. Yeah, y'all did beat the Lakers and y'all did beat Kobe. I get it. But
that's
y'all got
their
one.
thing. That's their thing. You're the big talkers. As Udonis Haslam would tell you, KG is a fake tough guy. So it's like whenever they mention tough guy about KG, he's like, I wouldn't. It literally like 2 weeks ago, they asked UD, they were saying something about KG going into the Hall of Fame. And, they're like, as a resident tough guy of Miami, you see the similarities in KG. He literally stops the interview. He's like, don't throw that around so easily. Me and KG not the same. KG is a big talker. I'm like, UD is not with the shits, and obviously he showed that in the last game that he played.
Right.
But I mean, we know this. KG is an instigator. That was what he was. I never viewed KG as a real tough guy. He was a big talker, just like Gary Payton. Nobody was scared of Gary Payton.
I don't know now. Gary Payne, he from Oakland, so I wouldn't.
No one ever accused him of being a fake tough guy like they do at KG, because the thing that KG does, he gets up in
Gets
you,
on your skin.
talking, and then when you swing, he puts his hands up. That's his thing, So, but it worked for him. It worked very well over his career to the point of being a Hall of Famer.
But
I respect that.
now that you speak it, and we'll move on. There's one guy that KG admit that he can never get under his skin. Take a wild guess.
Tim Duncan.
Yep. He said that
Duncan
used to annoy the shit out of him. He said
Tim Duncan talks a lot of shit too, but under his breath.
And it's so subtle.
Mm-hmm. I think Kobe talked about that one time where he said, he would tell you what he's gonna do, and after you do, he'll tap you on the butt and say, try again next time. That's the worst.
And by the way, Tim Duncan is another player that used to bust Shaq behind in the matchups. Look it up. Do your YouTubes. But anyway.
Monday night, 7 p.m.
on
Let's
Clubhouse.
discuss.
But speaking of KG, you know, there's also a scenario I wish I wish played out, and I would have liked to see how far it could went, is if him and Stephon Marbury could have stayed together in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I really think if they could, that could have been the emergence of Minnesota getting on the map, and also possibly even them winning a championship. For those that don't know, they used to be really great friends back in the day, you know, and they made some noise in the league. So that team, man, that's one of those, if we ever have a what if day, that can definitely be on the top of the list, because Stephon Marbury and KG, they both was very, very young back then. They were making some noise in the West. And I would definitely have liked to see if I wish they could have stayed together. Unfortunately, they didn't. And see what Stephon Marbury and KG could have done. I think that could have helped KG career. Maybe win one more championship and add that to his resume. And even he doesn't win a championship, definitely more deep playoff runs. Because we all know in Minnesota, he made a lot of stats, but not a lot of playoffs. So
Facts.
That's the only knock. You know, I think that's going to be on KG careers. You know, he really didn't have a lot of playoff success until he went to Boston. And unfortunately, by the time he went to Boston, he was already in his 30s. So, you know, the early years of his careers doesn't have a lot of success. So I think that's why a lot of people, great player, but it's hard to put him at the top of the list of, you know, the greats because of that. And that's the only knock, for at least for me, to have KG's career.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first of his kind, one of those hybrid bigs where he could play inside, he could play outside. You know, you got people like Chris Bosh, and in these days, the guy that everyone's looking at is Bam, as far as being the KG type. But he really changed the game that way, and that's gonna be his claim to fame forever. You know, being that he's a Hall of Famer now, his claim to fame just being that hybrid big, that stretch four, but not just stretch four. I mean, he did so much. He did so. It was inside. It was outside. He could do it all. I mean, you know, this inspired me. I'm gonna go watch some of his highlights back when he was with Minnesota, because he was really he was a monster.
He was definitely a monster. He was definitely a problem. And I think the biggest thing too, he was the forward that used to put the ball on the floor. That's another thing people forget. He could definitely put the ball on the floor. He could go coast to coast. He was the emergence of that. That's why we have the, like you said, the Bams of today, the Chris Boshes, the Giannis's. You know, that was KG. That was KG back in the day.
I just don't want to hear nothing about Bam no more until he gets the killer instinct.
It's gonna come.
Don't tell me you want to be KG and then when Jimmy's out, don't get me started. Anyway,
Jimmy installed that and so. But all in all, these guys, man, great fun. Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, congratulations. But from top to bottom, great careers, phenomenal careers. It's just crazy to say, wow, like, man, we've probably seen, to me, in my lifetime, the greatest era of basketball. To me, the greatest era of basketball was 2000, 2010. And the second best shooting guard of all time in my book, Kobe Bean Bryant, played in that era. And the greatest power forward of all time, Tim Duncan, played that era. And, you know, I was privileged to watch them in totality during that time. And there's a lot. I mean, if we was to go and say monumental or icon moments, I mean, we'll literally be here for the rest of the year. But for time purposes, many moments, which obviously we will share on our clubhouse room this Monday at 7 p.m. But I really hope true basketball heads and true hope true hoop heads, I'm sorry, understand what we just witnessed these past 20 years of basketball. We might not never, ever, ever, ever see another duo, even though they didn't play together, but of dominance like that and consistency. That's the thing. Literally consistent. I mean, the day Tim Duncan got to the NBA, today he retired, he dominated. Same thing as Kobe Bryant, dominated. And it's just, it was, man, the West then, y'all talking about the West now, the West back then, you had the Spurs, Phoenix, Mavs, Lakers. Oh, man, what a time. But anyway, shout out to the 1996 class.
Go watch YouTube, y'all.
Yeah,
Go
do your
dive in.
YouTubes. Definitely do your YouTubes, especially for the younger heads that didn't have a chance to see them or only got to see them at the end of their career. Do your YouTubes and do your YouTubes on the matchups. Look at Tim Duncan and KG matchups when they used to go head to head. Look at Kobe and Tim Duncan when they used to go head to head in the playoffs. These are historical games, I'm telling you. Historical games. And then obviously, you had the Kobe versus KG matchup twice in the finals in 08 and 2010, which that 2010 series to me is one of the best finals in that decade. Going 7 games. But man, what a time. But definitely something I would tell my kids or definitely the next generation about. I know we have a lot of great athletes, and today's world, we got the Giannis's, the Devin Bookers, the Dame Leonards of the world, which they're doing phenomenal things. But that era of Kobe and Tim Duncan and KG is unlike any other. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Jordan in his prime in the early 90s. So, I didn't get to witness that, but that's why I claimed the 2000 to 2010 the best era in my book, because that era of basketball was must-see TV. Every year, every Thursday, TNT night, every Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Well, Wednesday was ESPN. Tuesday and Thursday was TNT. Mm-hmm. And then playoff time, obviously, for ABC on Sunday. So great time. Great time. But on that note, anything else you want to touch on?
No, we did everything.
That's not it. So that's all we have for you guys today. We will be on our Clubhouse this Monday at 7 p.m. discussing again the 3 icons of the 1996 draft that got inducted to the Hall of Fame. So definitely join us as we give flowers to these guys, also touch base on their careers. We'll get into a little bit of what if situations, maybe in a little bit of, who had the better career and, who had the better matchup and so on and so on. But definitely join us this Monday at 7 p.m. on our Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, shoot us a DM on our Instagram at sports_cash_ to get an invite to stay up to date. And of course, follow us on all platforms and definitely hit that notification and follow the bell to stay up to date on all content with us here at Sports Cash and future episodes. On that note, thank you for tuning into this episode.
Facts. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Love to Natalia and all the family. All right, Cash Crew. Till next time.
See you next time.